I'm the man, yes sir, that killed the bear barehanded so the people won't forget it. Getting money for I would label the drink. I care what a broke nigga think.
Just like the pack of Lewis.
Look, everything I do so cold. I can do this, both eyes closed. Too short, I stay on my toes. About that guap boy, anything goes. Help the bear if we outside. Help the bear if we outside. Still tipping, baby, nothing changed. I'm still grinding over here, yeah. Still sliding through my own lane. Shorty, nothing funny over here. Dallas rain everywhere around me. Dream to get money. Made it through the storm, living sunny. Dreams came true, now we eating. I got more dreams to chase, gotta reach them. Trying to put a team together like the Hunger Games. Everybody grinding because we all came from hunger.
Talking about right now. You know what it is. You know what's up. You know why you here. Late Ill Kid at OneYoungsta, hold it down, bringing that street geek and nerd soul. What is up, my people? Today, all year, another wonderful episode of On Screen. We getting into Doom Patrol, and apparently a whole bunch of weird people running around. They in the past, they in the future, they in people's heads. They messing with babies. You never know what's going to go on. But we got the crew once again. I'm gonna start out right over here. You know them, you love them. Hannibal Taboo.
What's good? What's good? How you doing? Thank you for having me. I'm Hannibal Taboo, head comics reviewer on bleedingcool.com. Also on the iHeartRadio podcast Nerdorama with Mo and Tawala every week. And look for Project Wildfire in comic stores November 24th. And every Friday in the fall for free, read False Flag on operative.net.
Yeah. And right here below, the man loves his coffee. He loves his movies. RJ, what's up?
What's up? I'm RJ of the Nerdy Brew. Yes, on my channel, we talk TV, movies, and everything in between, all while drinking a cup of coffee. And I'm happy to be here. Why don't you like, share, comment, and subscribe, and you can see me over there. But right now, we're here talking Doom Patrol.
And in the diagonal square, the most studious background of all of us. Solar Gray, the cinematic sorcerer.
Hey everybody, how's it going out there? I'm Solar Gray, the cinematic sorcerer, and you can find me Monday through Friday at twitch.tv/BID_P at 3 p.m. Pacific time. Again, Monday through Friday, where we talk all things geek and nerd and how our hobbies can give you the tools that you need to get through the hard parts of life.
All right, and speaking of that, we three of us were together yesterday. If you could let them know what we did over on your Twitch channel.
Oh, yes. Yesterday was our episode of Warp Tumblr's Dark Matter, where first off, I take the lessons that I give on Monday through Friday and apply them to a tabletop role-playing game where these two gentlemen right here, I think it's these two, yes, these two gentlemen right here are players in Warp Tumblr's Dark Matter, which is epic fantasy or epic sci-fi role-playing in space using the templates of Dungeons and Dragons. So imagine, if you will, us on a team, us as the cast of Farscape. And yesterday was an epic game. I gotta say that was, Mike got the NERDSoul right over here. He got MVP for the best stated line, and I will leave a link. What it was. I will leave a link to yesterday. Hang on.
Oh yeah, I was like,
I'll leave a link to yesterday's episode in the chat. Come to the end of the show so that you guys can check it out for yourselves, and like and subscribe here though. Because here, like, subscribe, push the button, share the video, do all that stuff. Because, we talk very, very interesting things. But yesterday
that was funny. I was like, I'm Eldori though. Like,
It was so clutch.
I was just like, I'm right.
It really was. It really was. But so yeah, watch the show for context. It's one of those things.
So let's start out with, okay. Your boy Larry has had the mumps, an affliction, some
Yeah.
kind of tumor. And he finally gets the coughing, sound like Smoker's cough, like he'd been coughing smoking since he was like 10. And he coughs up larva.
A space booger.
Yeah, like a space, I don't know, termite or a space
Well, it
maggot
had
or something.
10 eyes. Yeah, it has 10 eyes.
It wasn't cool. And
Says you.
It wasn't cool, according to me. And he had the nerve to ask what to do with it. And I love the response, even though that we found out that our new lady, Miss DeMille, is bad from the past. But I love how she was like, burn it. Like, what are you doing? Like,
Okay.
this thing?
That right there, that scene was the MVP scene from the whole episode.
That was me. I was her in that moment. That was my
And in truth, I was Larry in that moment. In that, now what do we do when a parasite comes out of our bodies? I don't know, give it a name. I'm just like, yeah, you know what?
No.
Given the life that they lead, given everything we've seen on this show, that was a 100% reasonable response for who said it. Okay.
At least put it in like a box with like a locked box with like, I don't know, some kind of safeguards. Like, I don't know what this thing can do.
He wanted to make sure that it was safe to touch.
But
I mean, he coughed it up on the floor.
Larry is an astronaut, right?
Yeah.
So Larry is used to going into hostile environments where everything is trying to kill you. He has a background in science.
And he's in the Doom Patrol, so he's...
Yes, he's in the Doom Patrol, so he makes terrible decisions. Yes, that's true. But the key thing, though, is that he said, no, this outside context problem that I'm going to introduce into an ecosystem that has no response for it whatsoever should be fine. That's the opposite of every science thing he should have learned. But
are you talking before or after he left his room?
I'm talking all of
While
it.
he was in
His entire experience with it. His entire experience with it was contrary to that, and moreover, it was contrary to everything that he was trained, but 100% consistent for everything that he's chosen.
No, that's fair. I love how you apply so much logic to characters that live lives and live in an environment where the more logic they use, the more damage they take. I mean, seriously, the dude coughed up something after getting back from outer space and it falls on his floor. And he does do the scientific thing of pour some water on it. Okay, I'm gonna poke it with something. All right, I don't even know what this is. I don't know what it is. I don't know what to do with it. Like the alien environment thing, is it bad for the ecosystem? Is it this? Is it that? The dude just gave birth out of his face. Logic is not something that's going to come very quickly. Because one, he a man. Two, he a man. So giving birth is one thing that would throw anybody on this panel off kilter. Second, giving birth out of your face hole to something whose volume is bigger than your head.
If it's out of your face, I'm going to have to contest the idea of it being called giving birth and more like an expulsion of an alien thing, that, like when you throw up. Like, because I've seen people, I've worked in bars.
Throwing up. He threw up. He didn't give birth.
Exactly.
Okay, if there are any women in the chat right now, can y'all back me up and say we're saying the same thing?
I'm saying I've seen a lot of people throw up a lot of things.
And I've seen quite a few people give birth.
None of them have wanted to name it. None of them have wanted to name it.
And you ain't hanging out at the bars that I hang out at.
I'm not gonna allow. Larry knows better. When he took it to the forest or whatever, I was like, you can't just leave that there. You don't know what it's gonna do. So you can't just leave this thing. I'm sorry. My first response would have been like, kill it. Like, not just like
anything that's
I mean,
moving in my
RJ,
house
help me
that's
out
visually
here. Are
related to
you
me,
killing
I'm gonna
it?
try
Are
to
you
No,
kill it.
keeping
I
it?
totally agree with you. Like if something an alien that much out of your body comes out, and you don't know what it's going to be, right? You don't know if it's going to be cute. You don't know if it's going to be monstrous. You don't even know if it's going to grow and spread to the rest of the people of the town. It has to die immediately.
Okay.
It's not
Look.
even part of the human anatomy.
I
It's gotta go.
Gotta get to it.
I
I
get
agree
that.
with you. So.
Now, I
Chitty,
get
chitty,
that
bang,
all
bang.
you guys are coming from your perspective, but let's weigh this against the context of the character it happened to and the story that he exists in. Okay. The dude has been playing host to a negative energy being for 50 to 60 years. So this thing that's crawling around the body, maybe it's the thing that he's gotten used to that's gone, and this might be it coming back. He doesn't know anything about the alien that lived inside him for all these years. For all he knows, it could be the baby of a negative spirit. We don't know.
Which goes back
Second,
to my last statement of put
Yeah.
it in a box to research it to at least close it off with safeguards.
yeah,
Can't even do
again,
that.
that's kind of
Science.
no, that's a safe thing. That is a fair thing. Kill it. I think that's going a little too far. Secondly, his best friend is a pile of goo in the shape of a skinny woman. That's his best friend in the world. Third part, who's going to research it? The only scientist that he knew that specialized in weird is dead, and his head has been turned into a golem with a speaker coming out of its
Call
mouth.
another one. There's
Who?
other scientists out there. There's
Who?
Star Labs.
Call
There's
Victor
Argus.
Stone?
There's,
Silas Stone.
Yeah,
Silas
call him
Stone.
Cyborg's daddy.
Black science.
we at least know someone who has beakers and microscopes and test tubes and Bunsen burners and the little thing that spins the blood around, all that stuff. All right.
Centrifuge.
Centrifuge. All right. Those
Not
people
all
should
science
be doing
is
this.
the same, not even in comic books. Y'all know this. You know, if the thing had been like electronic or cybernetic or something, he could have called Victor Stone. But I get that it is reasonable going, yo, Silas, do you know a guy that specializes in all this stuff? Because the only people that Larry knows that specializes is that in stuff like that is the Bureau of Normalcy, and they are the last people that he wants to call.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
True that.
If he does that phone call and the Bureau of Normalcy gets that intercepts that phone call, house is overrun with booties with teeth, and y'all know that too. You know.
Well,
The teeth
speaking
booties.
of being overrun, we've been overrun with yet another member. You know, someone else came through. Now I got to introduce this man because see, this man is
You
a
better
special
not.
man.
You better not. I wait.
This
man will
You
return.
better not.
ESPN Man of the Year. All right,
Man.
award-winning novelist. Not only rebel billionaire, but worldwide loved and highly regarded philanthropist. I give to you, Clement Bryant.
I'm always stopping by to say hi. And don't do that again.
That's your fault for stopping by to say hi then.
Yeah, that's a regular
Wait,
thing.
you're telling me that you're taking your time away from the French Nebula Awards for Best Science Fiction Writers just to say hi to us?
See,
That's the man.
We're honored.
That,
See?
yeah, that.
see, if it wasn't for COVID, I would be getting every single one of y'all. Okay? Every
But-
single
but-
one of y'all.
But I know you just stopping through, but how are you feeling about this episode since you just stopped
Yo,
in?
this episode was weird, man. It was just like I know y'all haven't got to the end yet, but the end was just kind of like I had no words. But as far as Larry's Alien, I would have killed that thing. This man was like,
Thank you.
Killer with fire.
back.
Killer with
This man
fire.
was like, give it a name, and I'm like, no. You soak that thing in kerosene, you light it up. Like we've every sci-fi alien story that we have seen has gone wrong. Everyone has gone wrong, and this man is just gonna leave it in the woods in a sleeping bag and give it he give it a scarf.
blanket. And a
And
He
a
gave me like,
blanket.
yeah, a little scarf and some,
And a snack,
I don't know,
I think.
some
I think he
And they
definitely
give me a
sandwiches.
snack, and I'm like, no, you murdered that thing, bro.
Yeah, like I give my son peanut butter and jelly. You don't give that peanut butter and jelly. All right.
No,
Here's like,
I'm
here's
like,
a little
look,
sandwich for you.
no. I
Notice
do
his
not-
only black
you
friend
murdered-
wasn't around when this happened. His only
Ah,
black
there
friend
you
was not
go.
around.
Yep.
I mean,
See?
Cyborg would have been like, probably Cyborg would have saved it too, but I'm like, no,
Like,
you don't deal with demon, alien, baby spawn. Like, what?
yeah,
I don't understand.
Yeah, we don't trust it.
Wow.
Can't trust it.
I don't trust it. But I'm peacing. I'm going to see Dune in a few. So
Oh,
Later.
all right, I
Hey,
see you.
Clement,
All right,
Clement.
peace.
Clement, I
what?
do have my review coming up right after this on my channel of Dune. I don't do any spoilers, but if you have any thoughts on it, hit the channel up.
Oh,
right.
we did.
I will. All right, y'all.
All right.
I'll see you
Peace.
All
later.
right, be safe. Have a good time.
So
Thanks, y'all.
You must
My only
not
thought
fear.
was I was
There's
gonna-
the mind killer.
my
There's
only
that
thought was I
little
was
death
gonna-
that
I'm
causes
aware
total
of that.
oblivion.
I was only
aware
going to check
of
out the David Lynch again. That's the only thought I had.
that.
Oh,
No, I'm not
man.
watching David Lynch one.
Um, sit in the middle of the theater if you can. Middle of the theater.
We tried.
Fair.
We tried. Sold out.
Okay.
All right, y'all. Peace.
Peace.
Peace. Be safe.
Thanks, y'all.
Most death.
So,
He's
on-
gonna
on
shoot
another-
us one day. You know that?
on a, yeah.
You don't have to
On a-
find us.
on another note, it was nice. Even though, maybe they're on the other side of the law. You know what I'm saying? It was nice to see Cyborg make that call. She was like, you need to speak to your loved ones. And I was like, oh, snap. I was like, come on, brother. Make that call. He's like,
Yeah, I
Um,
loved it.
you miss me,
I-
girl?
I like
Can
that.
I especially give it up to Baby Girl, the assassin? Like, why don't I see her in more things?
That's real talk.
Like real talk.
Because Hollywood. And because
Okay,
dark
yeah,
skin.
that's fair.
Everyone who's slight tangent. Let me throw in the kufi. Everyone who's black has to be biracial because Hollywood. All right, take off the kufi. Now let's get back to Doom Patrol. All right, so because she's dark skinned, basically.
Because she killed it.
But she's
she
dope.
really killed it. I
As
was
an
afraid that when she left the show initially, that was going to be it. I was afraid we weren't going to see that character anymore. And the fact that not only is she recalled, but she's recalled with the same care to her character that every other main character gets in this show. I got to give it up to
Yeah.
them writers, and I got to give it up to the actress. Because
Yeah.
her scene with Cyborg, that was that emotional pull scene that every episode has. That was that first one.
Yeah.
It was like
Yeah.
weird. Oh, by the way, be true to yourself. Realize that your truth is your truth, and you got to make a decision for your life. But keep in mind, you do good for people as who you are. Anyway, I got to go kill this fool. I'm
Anyway,
like, man.
I gotta go kill some people. I love you. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Pick up some milk. Don't forget to pick up some milk.
Nah, man, that was the auntie call right there. That was the uncle or auntie call. I could see that coming just as well from her or Lawrence Fishburne in anything, except maybe Apocalypse Now.
Yeah, speaking of aunties, bring that up. I'm staying in the context. So I was in New York before moving down here to Houston, and I was traveling on a particular side of town, and I saw my aunt on the bus. We were having to ride on the same bus, and I was telling her all my reservations of moving, and she said, "You know what? All you could do is really try and have the life experience." And she was my aunt, but I didn't have a real deep connection with her. But that cathartic moment of, having that conversation changed the tide of my perception of coming down to Houston. And it was that one person to do that. And for Cyborg, she's the one person to change perception of things as well. So the writing and their performance and their chemistry that they have together is what's needed for the character growth for Cyborg. And I'm loving what they're doing. And I love that he's having the revelation to take a step back. And he's like, I don't want to lose my parts, or I don't even know how to function without my parts. When she just slowed him down through those thoughts and said, it's you. You're the person to dictate these things. And I just definitely loved it. It was a highlight for me in that episode.
Yeah. Although this is a thing that's always stood weird with me with the Cyborg character. And if I have another chance to talk to any of the older writers that were there at his inception in the New Teen Titans back in the 80s, if it's nanotech, then if looking the way he does is a problem, why doesn't he just reprogram the nanotech to look like a normal person?
It's not nanotech.
Okay, because that's because
so they just made it nanotech.
That I've been reading stuff. Yeah, and all the years I've been reading stuff like Cyborg's Frankenstein nature has always been one of the big pulls at him. And I remember, and what was it? The Tetanus Imperative, the JLA Teen Titans crossover. He ended that book after Wonder Woman and Green Lantern used their powers to lasso the moon because DC goes that hard. That he ended up with a completely gold body and more micro nanotech and stuff like that. And then they changed it back because it's the essence of the character. But it's kind of, there's certain parts of characters that I really need them to get past, specifically anxious parts. Like I hated Wolverine for a long time until the Origin series came out, because for the entirety of my life, since he came out in 74 and I came out in 77, it's, I don't know my past. I don't know my past. I don't know who I am. I don't know who I am. Who am I? I don't know. I've got the world's most powerful telepath right here, and he can't find out who I am. Who am I? Who am I?
Yeah,
who am I?
They definitely, you know, they were like, conveniently, he can't even solve it. I'm like, well, you also got Jean Grey. Why don't y'all like do a duo mind thingy or something? I don't know.
They did, and they still couldn't get all that stuff because of the nature of his brain always healing to essentially the place of his first death and all that stuff. But the fact of the matter is once they got rid of that trope, he became awesome. One of the few things that Fox Studios did right. So with Cyborg, I see them going on that trope, and see, I'm not just trying to command the conversation. I see them going on that trope, but when he decided to go for the surgery and then he was pulled out of the surgery because of the climax of the episode, I think this is that moment where at least the Cyborg in Doom Patrol, hopefully part of the CW universe, because I want to see them on Legends of Tomorrow. It looks like that is where he is going to get past the am I man, am I machine, am I monster? And he finally evolved into the this is who I am, and who I am is awesome. Booyah. Now I'm going to go start Titans West. You know, that is what I'm hoping.
Not booyah.
I need to make two quick notes. First of all, that Victor's technology has always been prosthetic in nature. From its origins, the word that they used to describe it was prosthetic. So it's an add-on external thing. Nanotechnology is a completely different thing. There was a period during, I believe, the David Walker run, which was greatly loved, but immediately retconned out of existence, where he was able to not only change his appearance, but change the tactile nature of what the experience was for him without sacrificing anything. Because seriously, if you live on a planet with T.O. Morrow and with the guy who made the Metal Men, it really makes Silas Stone look bad as a scientist to not have come up with a better solution to this. That said, so what he has, he's stuck basically, and you see a lot more of this acted out in the cinematic version for all its flaws and other challenges. You see that acted out, the thing, I'm stuck with this stuff. I'm stuck with this stuff, and this stuff won't come off. It can't be really hidden very well because it's bulky and it's extraneous. So Silas's attempt at rebranding him as a superhero to make people accept this Frankenstein's monster gag was always supposed to be his attempt at, fixing his mistake of using his son as a lab rat, basically.
Yeah. And I get that. It's just I'm on this place where it looks like the Doom Patrol is kind of starting to get it. And the rest of the writers at DC and hopefully the cinematic universe will start to get it, especially since they integrated the Apocalypse tech. Because now he's got access to New Genesis, and which is, Asgard plus Wakanda plus Atlantis on turbo. So he can get that fixed. And I think it would be better for the character if he has access to fixing all the things that he's been anxious about all these years, and then choose it, use it as a point of empowerment, saying, I could look like everybody else, but this is who I am, and there's nothing wrong with being me. You see what I mean? I think that would be a good place.
They have actually run something about that, the ableism kind of discussion in the comics. They have already run this. The David Walker run touched on it. There was a little bit in the Kevin Grievous bit. There's been multiple times where this discussion is,
of course Kevin would have covered it.
I'm choosing to be Cyborg, and so on and so forth. But when the problem with these things is that they're done in a vacuum. They're done in individual issues of a single comic that doesn't affect or doesn't cross over with anything else, and then they become a canonical thing. So, for example, they decided at some point Batman was not going to use guns. After shooting a whole lot of people, they said Batman doesn't use guns anymore, and that became the law. People really absorbed that.
Not only doesn't he use guns, he doesn't kill either. He may beat within an inch of life. He may even brand, but he will not kill.
Exactly. Yeah. And from the top down, that was pushed down as this is what it is. This is what you go with. There's nothing like that happening with Cyborg to give him that freedom, to give him that agency, and in the words of David Walker, to give him genitals.
There's two things I want to bring out. The first thing is when Zack Snyder was doing his press run about BVS, and he was saying that Batman doesn't kill, but all the people are dying is by proxy. Just because Batman would explode a thing, the next person would die because of that, but it wasn't Batman's intention. I just want to bring that out there.
That's how killing
the second thing.
We know that he didn't successfully thread that needle. It was kind of like
No, not at all. The second thing I wanted to bring out to the panel and audience is that there was a corresponding run of Forever Evil when all the heroes were gone, and it was Cyborg, and he teamed up with the Metal Men.
Oh, yeah.
When it goes along with the Doom Patrol and who he was as a hero and knowing that he had to be a hero, that specific run brings that out of who Cyborg character is, and that he's a capable leader when he was able to utilize all the specifications of the Metal Men. It was such a great run. And if you ever get a chance to look into that, I recommend it.
I'll take a look. I specifically skipped Forever Evil because I was kind of on Villain Burnout because it came out around the same time as Thanos was coming to prominence in pop culture. Dark Knight had just come out, and I'm just like, where are my heroes, man? I just need some good guys. I shouldn't be looking at the Captain America movies saying, this is the apex of storytelling I want.
Right.
Check out that wildfire, man.
Ow. Oh, God, there's a hint.
In that Forever Evil run, it was Lex Luthor and Cyborg that really saved it.
Yeah, and I got that part. And again, I've never really been one for the Ultramen or the Injustice League. I've never... I wanted to like them. It's just they haven't grabbed me yet, which is sad because I'm a Justice League stan. So it's probably why they haven't grabbed me. I don't know. Anyway, this episode, though, can I bring up something?
All right, go ahead. Then we got a comment from Jenna coming through.
Okay. Yeah. Lovely Rita Meter Maid. Oh, my God, she shined in this episode.
Rita Meter Maid.
What I appreciated so much about what happened there, thinking about how hurt people, that I was like, the second I saw, because I watched the show with the closed captions, and on closed captioning it says, whenever Laura DeMille talks, it says Madame Rouge, and I was like, oh
yeah.
So I already had an idea of what was going to go down, But when it happened, I was like, that's so personal though. You chose that. You there's a difference between like, or the stage musical Wicked where nobody gave you a choice. No, you had lots of choices. You made lots of choices.
She had a whole team, a whole team going, no, join us. We love you. We can do this great. Come on, let's do that. And she's like, nah. Nah.
I'm gonna sell out.
Oh no, she bought in. She bought in because remember I really appreciated. Yeah, I realized, or should I say, I really appreciate in this episode how they made it very clear visually and with cinematic language that the Bureau of Normalcy is not the good guys.
Oh yeah.
The moment they were walking down the things, and I'm like, okay, this is not exactly subtle, but thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, they made it's weird because of course it's like the hurt people thing, but I do like that when she was sitting by herself, like kind of like I guess tabulating her I guess changes or growth rate or whatever. The dude came in, he like, it don't matter what you do.
By the way, you did recognize him from Legends of Tomorrow, right?
Oh, I'm sorry, I gave up on that show years ago. So,
well, he premiered years ago. He was the nerdy office dude that worked with the tall, leggy blonde girl.
I have no idea. But when I like that idea because it goes along with the episode of Watchmen where you see Hooded Justice, being with, because he's hiding, being with I can't think of the dude's name. But
Captain Manhattan, I think.
No, it wasn't Captain. No, not Captain. It was some. There's only one Manhattan, but the like.
Captain Metropolis.
Captain Metropolis. It was Captain Metropolis.
So, because both of them are like, both of these situations are like, yeah, we'll use you, but you ain't down with us. You ain't. So in one case with Madame Rouge, it's like, yeah, you can work as hard as you want. We're never going to accept you. We'll let you sell out your folks and friends and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we'll give you a nicer chair. You got your little office. But trust me, the only reason Weapon isn't on your folder is because you're selling out so many of your friends. That's it. And then over to Hooded Justice, it was like, you can give them everything. You can give them your body. And guess what? They still won't respect you. They won't even give you the time of day. It's like, dude's like, hey man, I cracked the case. Look, I got everything right here. It's right here. I got everything I need. All the CIA documents and all that. All the research. You're like, yeah, no, we're not going that way. So you can, I like that where I was like, hey, she kind of got hers in a way because she was like, I've done, triple the amount or whatever she said. He was like, I don't care if you do 100,000 more than I do. Guess what? You're still going to sit in that little chair because we still are going to make sure that you know that you ain't us. And
Mike, you make a really interesting point that I think that I appreciate personally from my own personal politics that while we are supposed to see Madame Rouge as a villain, as she is betrayed her friends or whatever, the real villain, the real winner at the end of the day, despite all these fights, despite all these things, is the system. The Bureau of Normalcy has decades and decades and decades of dominance and terror and the ability to control the narrative at a very high thing. And while there is a great freedom and a great joy in being weird and in being free into yourself, you really don't get the opportunity to change things because the system spends all its time suppressing you, all its time making
Good point.
You know, Hannibal, with you bringing that up, there was the guy with the bike wheels on his back who mentioned that. He's like, my people have been oppressed for years after years. and I look like this. And not only that I have this infliction on my body, I'm also born the way that I was to go through the things that I went through, and people can't understand that.
Yeah.
So just to go with what you talking about, that
He
they
said something-
have that systematic issues.
Yeah, he said something about that in the last issue where he said to Rita, is like, all of us can't take those kinds of risks.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was like, oh snap, you gonna hit her like that? Oh dang.
Yeah. Because it's not only am I not white, but my affliction can't be hidden the way yours is. Like yours, and it was it's been said many times, but there was one time somebody was talking to I don't know if they were talking to Professor X or something. They were talking to someone, and they were like, "Yeah, but I don't look normal." And I think it might have been Nightcrawler or somebody, but somebody was in the comments. Somebody,
Beast has done it. Marrow's done it.
Beast. Yeah, tons of people have said it, but or something to that effect. But like, yeah, but you look regular. Like, you're a mutant, but like if you don't say anything and like never use your powers, like I mean, of course, people here know because you're in the city. But say you're living in Kentucky. If you move to Nevada, nobody will know. You'll just like walk around, live your life, have a fun time. Like me, Beast, if I move, it don't matter where I move. They're gonna be like, hey man, look, there's a mutant over there. Looks crazy, don't he?
Yeah. Actually, Grant Morrison as a writer brings this up all the time because I remember this conversation happening in like this first issue of X-Men that he ran, where they were rescuing someone and the dude's mutation was that he had two faces and they looked like pigs. That's it. And Wolverine was like, so what's your power? He's like, I got two faces and they look like pigs. And I think I have white meat instead of anything else because that's everything. You know, that's my mutation. I don't get the cool powers. I get the oppression. I get to look ugly.
Like the Morlocks don't all have cool powers. It's just like, look, we have like
I don't know. I would argue that.
great.
I think the Morlocks are pretty dope.
Well, no, but what I'm saying
ugly.
is they don't have like the cool powers. Like they've got powers, but they don't have like the Wonder Woman and like Cyclops and Superman powers. They got powers, but all their powers, they aren't like the main powers kids is picking from. Like if you go to kids in like elementary or middle school and you're like, what do you want your power to be? None of the Morlocks are on those lists.
I don't know. I think Leech's powers are on a lot of people's. Leech's
powers are terrible. Nobody wants Leech's powers.
I don't know, man. The power to shut it down is pretty awesome.
You know who? There was actually a thing that they did where the mutants were fighting somebody and like, yeah, I got a solution for him. It's called a sniper rifle.
In all fairness, that's the solution to most of the X-Men. But yeah, I think it was interesting when the Japanese lady started going off in that same scene, because I had to double check the dates on this because I'm like, wait a second, it's been a while. Oh, it's 1949. So of course the instigator of let's take the world down would be the Japanese person post World War II after not living through, but living in the same time as Hiroshima and Nagasaki and seeing what bureaucracy and government could actually do to people if they stood up and did something. And I thought that was a really interesting and subtle look on trauma.
I want to add something to that because if memory serves, they've been there for decades. She would have also lived through the Chinese Exclusion Act.
Yes.
Which would have given her, especially given what we know about Americans, nobody would have seen the difference between a Chinese person and a Japanese person. They would not have known the difference.
Yeah, there would just been like
that challenge as well.
Yeah. So it's interesting how the Sisterhood of Dada is an interesting juxtaposition against the Doom Patrol because they are both haphazard superpowered teams that cannot function in the real world. You know, I mean, cannot. One has to wear a gas mask all the time. Don't get me wrong. The Phantom lady there that's got that whole Tilda Swinton and impeccable taste in vests, I gotta say, like her vest game is on lock. She can operate in the real world, but homie with a bird in his chest, you know, he can't be working at Home Depot like that. You know? Be like, yeah, where do I find the pod connectors? Tweet. What's that? Oh, it's just my cell phone. Yeah, he can't operate in the world like that. In the same way that, you can't see Larry working at McDonald's.
I just realized he might be able to because he can say those are his Twitter notifications.
All right. So,
and in the words of Mystique, he shouldn't have to. Anyway, you were saying?
big shout to Jenna James. She brings up talking about the big guy. When he was left alone with baby Rory, talking about, of course, your homie Cliff, I kept thinking, quote, this is going to end bad. I don't want to watch, but I have to watch. Especially how is he going to just go back to his pre-Robot Man days of getting addicted to something and that causing him to commit mistakes that cost him and his family. Let's see, him getting kidnapped by the Sisterhood of Dada is probably a blessing in disguise for him because that's something more treatable than him falling hard and into a gambling addiction and probably getting rejected by his daughter's family at best. Yeah, when she gave that credit card, I'm like, didn't you say you're only going to be gone for like 30 minutes?
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you need a card for?
There's something that comment brought up. I don't want to watch, but I have to watch. That's going to be the subtitle for the Cliff Steele autobiography.
Bruh.
That's literally his whole life.
The whole time I'm going, no, don't do, no, what are you doing in the garage? And I'm not going to lie.
He was trying.
I almost felt bad for that webcam girl. I almost, because he's hitting her in ways that people in that industry just aren't used to it. Because it's kind of like, hey, you want to talk about your kids? Okay. Yeah, so I mean, you paid for 15 minutes, so I suppose
it's probably I don't know, maybe it's good. It's like, hey, I don't never get to talk to people in this. Like,
like, I do. One thing I noticed as well when with the credit card scene. There's a Eddie Murphy movie called Holy.
Gonna bring that up.
There's an Eddie Murphy movie called Holy Man where he decides to walk through one of those TV sets where they sell stuff to you. That I don't even know, the Home Shopping Network. And Jeff Goldblum is in the booth while he's down there with Morgan Fairchild and a chainsaw. He's like, "Don't give him the chainsaw." She gave him the chainsaw, and he runs.
That scene is hilarious.
I had that moment when she handed it with the credit card. I was like, don't give him the chainsaw. Oh, no.
Yeah.
She gave him the chainsaw.
You almost wanted to like jump at the screen and just slap it out of her hand.
That was the most Black TV watching moment for me in that whole episode.
Yeah. Major shout out to his daughter's significant other. Because a lot of the times in these situations, the significant other is put there to just be contrarian. It's like, oh, your dad's a robot. But in this episode, when she saw that either the MS or the Parkinson's was there, and she saw his hand twitching, and she's like, oh, I'm gonna get the baby. And it's like, is this being played off as racist or anything, that kind of allegory? And it's like, no. If he loses control of his muscles, he can pop their son like a tick.
Yeah.
Just, look at my grandson. And, fuck her.
And then also it's their first child. So their first child, you know how you like, everyone's first child is like, yo, it's about
yeah.
Like anything, you're like, if this kid does something, it's gonna be crazy.
When I had my daughter for the first time, first of all, it's mad alien, mad foreign, don't know. And I got all these older women telling me things about the child, and I'm holding my baby, and I'm like, don't breathe her, don't get next to her. I want to take her outside.
Yeah, they're just now getting that parental super sense of like, okay, I've been working all day, I've been taking care of the kid, now I'm gonna be like,
right.
What was that noise?
Are you
alive?
Are you alive? Did you eat a sandwich? Are you okay? Okay, I'm gonna go basically now.
And that's a great point, because if it were their third child, it'd be like, he crushes it. I'm done.
That was the spare. I've actually had people say that. Some of my friends' parents have said, that one, he's just a spare. I'm like, but he's my friend.
Yeah, we can make another.
Hey, you know
He'll be
what?
all right. You know,
We all come from that house of I brought you in this world, I take you out. My mom added on the addendum, and then I will get back together with your father and make one that looks just like you. So knowing that I was the spare was yeah.
like,
Oh, she didn't mess around. It was work to be a bad kid. That's why I was an all right kid. Because it was just too tiring to be bad.
You know, the one thing that I like about that scene with him, you know, struggling with the baby and the bottles, that we see how it's breaking down in his mind how bad he wants to get that card. He understands the confusion and the frustration of trying to deal with this baby, but his addiction is flowing into his mind where he's just really focused on the card. And I loved how they did the camera work to have you inside of his mind in that situation at that time. I think that was done really well.
See, I thought about that or I didn't think about that, and thank you for bringing it up, because in truth, I hated that scene for two reasons. Yeah, that one scene I hated for reason number one. On the table. Reason number one, that scene of I'm going to try and take care of a baby and I am completely incompetent. And I hate that, especially since it is his grandchild. Okay. He's taking care of a baby.
You're right.
Before.
He's been down this road before.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, he is kind of big and clunky now.
I mean, he's done it before. You know, he's taken care of a kid before. And so burning the formula, and it's one thing to be rusty and it's one thing to be distracted. But at the same time,
he did have that
I thought it was done a little bit over the top. I'm like, Cliff is not this bad. He's not this bad. He's not good. I get that his daughter had no
that formula,
you know, but
he had that formula on high.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
He ain't this bad.
Human Cliff is not this bad. 7 years of brain damage, robot Cliff with a gambling addiction is this bad. I believe there's an ableist element there.
And again, that's where I didn't consider the addiction factor. I didn't get that he was fiending. You know, if they'd had the credit card talking to him, like, hey, what's up with Mr. Fox? You know,
the funny thing is that's not out of the question in this show. That's
not for this show.
Like if the
this show at all.
Lips,
they were
was like,
oh, we already got the bicycle guy. We're over budget. We need to not do the card sequence.
Yeah, no cards.
We got the climax of this episode too. So yeah, that's what we got. I'll be right back.
So bringing in real quick a comment from Silhouetted Animator. Comes through and says Malcolm/Agent had a airplane in his chest in the comics. The bird thing reminded me of Sandman, where the cuckoo possessed the man named George, and having birds appear and release from his rib cage. Maybe Malcolm got his powers from the dreaming. We already had a reference to Death of the Endless a few episodes back. So
that's fair. That's a very fair assumption, given that a lot of times for on screen they synthesize elements that were successful. I'm going to take a bit of this. I'm going to take a bit of this. Oh, I'm going to take Flag Smasher. Oh, I'm going to make a teenage girl. It's going to be awesome. And they're right a lot more, because the comics, and people say this in the industry, that the comics give you time to test drive things. But when you finalize and when you really make it work, you take different elements. You're like, oh, we're not going to do this part of it, but we're going to do this. And they remix it in ways. So yeah, that's a super good catch and probably a very accurate assessment of what happened.
Yeah. And Cliff, for that scene, I'll say this. Was I the only one that was like, look, you know what? It'll be bumpy, but it'll be okay. Because Cliff, he's going to come through. Because
yes, you were the only one. You were absolutely the only one.
It's like I want Cliff to win because, all right, when he first turned it around, he gets killed. All right, because remember, he was like, all right, I got my wife, I got my baby. I'm going to stop all the craziness. I'm going to get out these streets. I'm going to be a good man. I'm going to be a good husband, a good dad. Boom, dead. Now he's like, you know what? I got a daughter. I got a chance to talk to my dad. Even though we ain't super on point, I do get where he was coming from. You know what? I'm going to be a better grandfather, a better father than I've ever been. Boom. Now we got Parkinson's. It's like, I just want him to win, you know?
In the immortal words of Michael Jackson from The Wiz, you can't win, you can't even, you can't get out of the game.
Man, because I'm like, yo, he's trying. I mean, he's really, but you know, that arm, because if he drops that baby, like, you know,
Squishes him.
Or squishes the baby, you know what I'm saying? It's just, because in my mind, I'm like, it's 30 minutes, man. But then I forgot, it's 30 minutes with the Doom Patrol. And see, imagine if he disappeared when he had the baby in his arms. Like the baby would have just dropped.
Oh,
the baby would have just dropped.
Or the baby would have gone with him.
Oh, that would have been an interesting. Actually, I wonder what that would have ended up being like. Like if he just showed up with a baby and everyone's like, "Who's the baby?"
Yeah, who's the baby?
Or like everybody stops from being angry to, "Oh,
amazing."
No, but knowing Cliff, he had high anxiety in that situation with the baby. It would have been a lot of F-bombs, and he would have been like, I gotta get the baby back. And it would have just been a lot of pressure on him. And he's like, I don't need to be here with all of these weirdos, and I need to get back to my daughter. She got a wife. The wife be chirping on me.
The wife already waiting to tell me no.
What is going on? Yeah, it would have been big if he had the baby.
Yeah,
in the best possible way.
Because even though I'm not the super careful dad, like, oh, don't touch this, don't go there, don't blah blah blah. I ain't going front. I even said it. We were watching some TV show. Lady Lisa and I watching some show, and I was like, "Yeah, you're gonna have to put in like a nickel before I leave my kid with you. I'm sorry. You had to put in like 5 years first and be like, I don't know you like that. I ain't trying to come back with my kid and be like, I don't know you."
That's real talk. That's very real talk.
But so they did.
I don't know. I'm kind of that liberal dad.
It's like, here, stay right here. I'll be back.
Actually, you know what? It's funny.
Dad, I don't know these people. Don't worry about it.
It's funny you mention that because 3 different times that I had no idea was going to happen. My wife comes home and she finds me with my daughter or with my older kid and a random kid that she's like, who's this kid? I'm like, oh, this is the neighbor's kid. They went to go to the store and they left this kid. They're like, why did they leave him with you? They don't know you. I'm like, I don't know.
It's like, I don't know.
Well, in
none of them were harmed. So
no, I mean, that's how I grew up. It was very much if you got a friend that you're bringing to the house or got a friend that you're spending that time with, it's kind of a part of the family. I mean, it's just one of those things. So I'm gonna go over to Ron's house. Who's Ron?
I didn't put in other people. I didn't do it. I'm like, I appreciate you trust me with your kid, but screw that. You just left somebody with a stranger. I'm not gonna leave my kid.
Again, there's no one right way to do things.
Yeah,
there's just better ways than others.
It's just weird because I remember when I was little. I remember like my mom would she'd be like, "Where you going? What's their parents?" And then my mom would call their parents and be like, "Do you know that they coming over?" And they'd be like, "Yeah." He'd be like, "All right." He'd be like, "Why?" I'd be like, "Mom, why you gotta do me like that?"
Because she knew.
Because she knew you were. She knew.
Every single parent knows that I'm going to Ron's house, and then Ron's like, I'm going to Saul's house, and then y'all go elsewhere. I mean, that thing has been going since the 1930s.
From time to time.
Matter of fact, that was the whole plot element to Stand By Me.
You ain't got the lie to kick it, Craig. You ain't got the lie to kick it.
Yeah.
Yo, man.
I mean,
we be riding bikes all around, son. We be all through the city with the bikes.
Nah, I grew up across the street from the park. So
the way we was rolling, we'd be like.
Yeah, see, I didn't have a bike growing up because we didn't have the money, but I grew up across the street from a park, and it was outside. And outside technically meant the park, but the park is about 2 acres big. So the park could have meant the liquor store, where they had the video games. It could have meant the playground. It could have meant the gym that only had basketball courts and no other workout equipment, but it was outside. And as long as we was in before them street lights came on, there were no questions. Now, granted, I found out what my mom was doing with her friends while we were outside, and I realized that inside was the place to be. But, but you know, well, that face palm is definitely something I see with, oh, you too, huh? You know, but yeah, yeah. That's right. I had to stay out of grown folks' business, you know, and out of their liquor cabinet. But yeah, so while I had to go take care of this cat emergency,
cat emergency.
Is there any other kind, or is there any other situation with a cat? Did you guys talk about Jane?
Yeah, we were gonna hit Jane next.
Cool. I didn't, because we barely touched on Jane last episode, and in this one,
it's getting real. It's getting real down there.
I called it.
Who steals a kid's bike to hurt them? That's
cold.
Up.
That's cold.
Now, I consider myself a Sith, and even I have limits. Come on, that's too far.
Do you guys not know any dysfunctional families?
Yeah, I know them, but you know, again,
that's still cold.
There are limits. You pick on adults. You don't pick on kids.
I once had a friend who wanted to be a stage performer more than anything in the world. And his mom looked at me in a private moment when we were doing juggling and fire breathing practice at his place and said, and this is no lie, this was my first red flag about not wanting to live in the suburbs. She looked at me and said, you know, it's really scary, but sometimes you got to kill your child's dream in order to keep them from getting hurt by failing at it. And I'm like, okay, wow, but people like this really exist. That'll do. Let me make my stealth roll into the bushes.
Okay.
You know, and again, this was his mama. This was his mama at 17 years old. Sometimes you have to kill your child's dream to keep them from getting hurt if they fail. Not let me lift them up, but let me discourage them because I don't see a path to success.
That's some Rick and Morty stuff right there.
The diameter of your knowledge is the circumference of your activity. If you can't see it, doesn't mean it's not there. That's
hey, I know this. You know this, but there is you brought up that it's a Rick and Morty thing. There is a common saying that if it happens enough to get a name, it happens too much. And the corollary to that of if it happens enough to show up in pop culture, then it is just a thing. It is a regular thing. So the fact that it's included in Rick and Morty means that the writer, let's call him Justin Roiland, went through that same kind of thing so much that he had to write about it and figured that it would land with the majority of the people watching it.
They had that line on Scrubs. Turk said at one point when he was doing something with his wife, he's like, if you really love somebody, you got to be willing to break their dreams. And I remember hearing that like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God, who does that?
Yeah, that was the darkest moment of Scrubs with Turk that I can remember. Though I do mainly focus on Dr. Cox.
He's there. Yes, absolutely.
Now, one of my favorite things that Turk did is when he challenged her to arm wrestling and he beat her with no shame. He's like, this is what you get, Carla. This is what you get. Loved it.
I remember. Yo, that was cold. Oh, that was cold.
But yeah, so that whole idea of stealing the kid's bike, remember, I brought this up. I brought this up last week after they ate the darkness. That darkness. When you eat something like that, mystically and narratively, you take it into yourself and you make it a part of you. And if you look at the performances, because these directors really know what they're doing, every single person in the underground, including Kay, has gotten a little darker, a little less patient, a lot meaner. And again, that whole taking in the darkness and becoming more complete, which means, and it came out flat out, just like I called it, and I'm not normally that guy, but when she's like, who is protecting us? Like, our job is to protect that little girl. Well, not who's protecting us. And it's like, whoa, hold up.
You're not a thing.
You guys are not like real. Every single one of us is an aspect of her.
Yeah,
but who's protecting us? And it's like, yeah,
so protection.
Entitlement.
In eating that darkness, they developed a sense of self-preservation and individuality. And now they're going to war. If not this season, next season. Just like last season, Dorothy was growing up. If not that season, next season. So Jane's got some work, but I don't think it's going to be Jane versus everyone. I think there are, given that there's like 65, 66 personalities, she can't be the only one who cares about that kid in a more healthy way.
Well, we know because we see it in, I'll just, for lack of better term, because I don't know them all, I'm not going to pretend, the bride. You can see it in the bride's face. She's not fully down. It's kind of like the mob mentality. There's always someone in like the middle to back of the mob being like, guys, are we going too far?
Are we the baddies?
Yeah,
we're doing.
What good army marches with a bunch of skulls on their stuff? Well, there could be worse ones.
You can see in her eyes,
winners,
you can see in her face that she's not feeling it. But she doesn't really know what to do because everyone else is agreeing with her. So
and we really haven't heard from Hammerhead. Like we haven't heard from Hammerhead.
It's not. None of this matters until the Sun King shows up. Everything is a wrap when the Sun King shows up, and it's like, oh, what side is that clown on? Because that's who I want to do.
Yeah, that's fair.
I feel like this is going to bubble up. I think we'll see the end of it next season. I think we'll see the end of it next season, but it's bubbling, and Jane's going to have to nip this in the bud. Like I literally said out loud, I'm like, you're going to need to nip this in the bud soon.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, because this is the next time you come back down, it's not going to be pretty. Because they stole this girl's bike to make sure that she stays depressed so that she could, like, y'all foul.
Those are the parents in the suburb that Solar was messing with.
That's exactly. That's exactly it. So I was just telling that story to answer the question, who does this? More people than you think.
Yeah, way more people than you think.
That was
yes.
And again, I get it. I totally get the idea that they have all decided to look out for number one. And each of them are number one.
No, each one of them is a fraction. That's the problem they don't understand.
Yeah,
they're not actually number one.
Well,
they're not even an integer.
Well, that's the thing. They were a fraction. But from their perspective, each one of them is becoming a whole individual. And again, I can't give shout outs enough to this cast, because shout out to the little girl who played Kay.
Everyone in this show,
I mean, seriously,
has bought into this world.
Yeah.
Like there's no one in this show where I'm like, they're not giving their all, or they're just mailing it in. Like, that's why we've said this show is way better than people even know or think or give credit for.
Yep.
In truth, when DC came out with a streaming service and they did all these new shows, I ain't gonna lie, I think qualitatively Swamp Thing was the best in that first load. And then Doom Patrol came out, and I'm like,
they canceled it, and they canceled it super quick and blamed.
There's talk around the campfire that it's coming back, and I hope so, because the writing on that set a good atmosphere for horror, and that's what Swamp Thing always has been. But then Doom Patrol came out, and I'm just like, oh, they're going all in. They're seriously going all in on this, and I get it. It wouldn't be this show with Hannibal and I on the show if we didn't talk about the behind the scenes and the politics and the financial stuff. And Warner Brothers knows that they are not going to lose the DC fan base, given DC fandom, the CW, and the animated universe. So they can take a risk or two without losing much. It's not, their audience is not fickle.
Well, I think they know enough now that Swamp Thing isn't a risk because of the way people responded when they were like, hold up, it's canceled? The second episode just aired, and then seeing the response of how much people actually ended up liking Swamp Thing.
Well, it didn't get canceled because of poor audience reception. It got canceled because of money.
Oh
There
no,
was
I
a
know
big
that. What I'm saying is
accountancy
they know
error.
they can take the risk because people like it. I
Yeah.
know I was well. Actually, no, we don't know why it was canceled because Warner Brothers said it was their money, and then they said no, it's Warner Brothers' money. So we don't know who. Somebody's lying.
Well,
'Cause
it
I
doesn't matter
reported
where
on
the
it
money
a couple times.
was.
And wasn't nobody able to pay for it. That's what happened.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter who money it was or not. That money came out on screen. It came out in actor performances. And I don't care what you think. You can see when an actor is being compensated properly. Okay, you can really see that.
but
Because
enough about Tyler Perry.
stop.
The
I
wigs
said
weren't
an
bad
actor.
enough in that show.
No, I'm talking about everybody on all of the 70 shows he has on BET. But okay, cool.
Oh
yeah. You know, I'm not bringing up. Actually, yeah, we can bring up Tyler Perry, just like I would bring up Asylum Films. All right, when the actors aren't paid properly, they phone it in because who cares? And what Warner is doing specifically with, as much as I don't like the writing, Titans, Doom Patrol, Swamp Thing, even Stargirl.
Yeah. Beth Chapel is everything on Stargirl.
You know what? That show did what Loki did and make me like a Wilson brother. You know, I'm serious. I got through the first season and I was like, wow, he didn't make me want to throw something at the screen. But yeah, so
That's
they're
the show.
really
I'm out.
they're really putting the money where it counts, and that's into the actor performances. In Swamp Thing, it was in everything. In Doom Patrol, doesn't have that same production value because it doesn't take a serious media savvy person to go, yeah, that's a set with a smoke machine. Okay, whatever. But they're like, we've earmarked this much for the production budget, but we've earmarked this much to pay you actors. And I want every penny of what I am paying you to show up on screen. And they are bringing it. They are seriously bringing it. You know.
Then I guess I got one last question for everyone. That ending. How RJ, how are you feeling about this ending?
All right, so what I feel about I kind of had a feeling, or it reminded me of how it was in the first Saw movie. How you go through all of these events in Saw, and they lead you to believe one thing, and then they do the switch of the whole different individual at the end, and it was a good twist. That we end up seeing. I mean, spoiler alert, it was Rita. You know, playing
all
that
along.
DeMille. And I really enjoyed that. And I also enjoyed the growth that we had to see with Rita and how she had that connection with the bird chest man. And they had that dance scene moment in that controlling area with those men of the bureaucracy of normalcy or whatever you call it. And it was just more of an anchor of why they wanted to have retribution with DeMille. And I just feel like it was a great resolution overall in that last ending. But it was crazy when it was the man's mouth and bird wings, and then they all turned into all type of birds. It's like, yo, this show keeps pulling to be exactly like super weird. It just keeps doing it. And I just really just loved how the ending came in, and how the ending was makes me excited for the next episode.
Hard agree. When I saw this, I was really, well, like I said, when the reader revealed, I was like, oh yeah, that was really. But what it really made me think back to was the series Homeland. Thinking about the phrase, how was she radicalized? What happened to her? And that all of this, every bit of this happened because the Bureau of Normalcy couldn't let people be themselves. All of this happened because this, what did Leia say? It's like, no matter how tightly you grasp, more systems will slip through your fingers. That this desire to repress is what creates the enemies that we have. That you don't get Osama bin Laden without American imperialism in the first place. You don't get these things, you know, All of these things happen.
We should save that for the meeting on Tuesday night down at the docks. I'm just
You're not supposed to tell them what the meeting is, Solar. You're not supposed to tell them, Solar.
Which dock?
They're supposed to think it's grumpier or bashful.
It's Pier 42. Anyway. I thought we all agreed.
So watching this and watching the bloom, as it were, of this radicalization after decades and decades and decades of things happening, all because, in this case, the Bureau on one side, and now it's called on the other side, took their eye off of the road. Mm-hmm. And the road struck back. Danny the street in the first place, but in this case, the road struck back. And I would love to see it. I would have liked to see them all become radicalized decades earlier. That would have been happy for me. But knowing that they are the Sisterhood of Dada, knowing the structure of things, I'm unfortunately believing the series wants them to lose, despite the fact that they're actually right, despite the fact that they're actually have the moral high ground, as Obi-Wan would say. But, you know, I'm hoping that if that's what's going to happen, it doesn't happen in a way that's going to, as the suburban mom did with Solar's friend, break my dreams there.
You know, it's interesting. I'm going to say, as far as the weird, i.e. the goateed mouth with the bird wings, I expected nothing less, because what would be wrong with me to expect something less weird from this show? You know, the show where the very first episode we saw a goat fart out a freaking ransom letter, and then someone flushed the city. So this show was consistent and honest at best. Mm-hmm. What I loved about that ending was when the sisterhood showed up and looked at who would become Madame Rouge. She said, "You have the power to stop this. All you have to do is atone for what you did. Regardless of what you thought, regardless of what you intended, this is how to fix it." It very much reminded me of this is what you do to ease the pain of someone you hurt, and digging into, well, I didn't mean to hurt them. Don't matter. All you got to do is set this guy free. We set up this whole thing over the course of 70 years for him to be free and you to be the person that made you happy again. All you got to do is open the door. And in a fantastic villain origin story that I haven't seen since Daredevil season 1, she said no. she got her memory back and she dug in. And I'm like,
she was like, I did atone. I was like, oh.
And yeah, exactly. And I'm literally going, oh, that right there is a villain's origin story. Specifically because having gotten to know her with amnesia, having gotten to see her in 1917 when she was first working for the Bureau, we're emotionally invested going, open the door. No, just open the door and everything will be fine and you'll be happy again. It's not even about saving the world, but you will have the happiness that you're getting. This show is about, you know, messed up people getting their heads together and cleaning up the wreckage of their past. This is your chance. And no.
and also
no, it didn't happen.
The people that were oppressing you they have no power over you now. They're not even here now. There is nothing for you to draw allegiance to. And she couldn't let it go.
That's the thing. It really showed, like as Hannibal was saying with how did they become radicalized? They showed how it started with the intention of being good. Mm-hmm. Then it became what's the term I'm looking for? The grabbing at power in order to protect those that they loved, mm-hmm. to being trapped by the organization, to finally swallowing the ideology. Okay. The only thing that was missing by the end of this episode was Michelle Gomez waving a Trump flag. If you're going to at me, do it at backinthedeck@gmail.com. I'm serious about that. Like, you know, I mean, seriously, we saw those steps and we're going, no, you can turn back. You're better than this. You know, you were the one that put them on that path. And then
too late for me, my son.
Serious.
Yo, that's my favorite scene. Like that's why like Return is my favorite movie. That scene, because the way the just the physical acting and the way it's almost like you can see through the mask to that man's soul when he says it's too late for me. Cause he looks like dang, I'm looking at my boy. The one I thought was dead. I'm looking at my boy, and I know my daughter out there somewhere.
Oh no, he didn't know
And
about his
I've
daughter.
become
At
this.
that
That line.
I
That line.
thought he did by then.
No, that was during the saber fight.
Yeah.
You're right. He knows.
Yeah.
Okay. I said, so yeah. So he's just
Yeah.
looking at his boy at that time, but being like, I've lost all this time, and this boy is actually doing what's right, and he's a perfect example of what I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And he's right here in front of me, and every part of me wants to hug
And
him,
inviting me along.
but I'm
inviting me along. That's big.
but I'm
You know how
Darth
to
Vader,
open the
and that's
door.
it.
Yeah. And
Please.
yeah, and seriously, that was that moment. That's what got me about this ending. I looked at that ending and I'm like, just open the door. I mean, you can be good. Good doesn't mean nice. It means kind. As much as I hate to say it, there are a lot of good guys out there that aren't nice people. Don't do nice things, but that's okay. They still do the right thing for the right reasons. And it's like, that's where you were. That is the number one place that you were. And again, I've seen it happen so many times over the course of my life and my travels and the people that I've come across. Like, actually, you know what it really did? Again, backinthedeck@gmail.com. It's what I see when I meet Black conservatives who were against things like Black Lives Matter and reparations and universal basic incomes and everything that would help them. But, you know, they think they're doing all right. So they're saying, no, all people got to do is work. Huh?
Because you know I'm down for this combo.
Well, you know, that's
could
the
do
whole
another
thing.
show.
Like,
But
that's
no.
what I saw. I saw her buy into the ideology, even though the ideology itself not only has any room for her, but will put her on the chopping block if it ever succeeds in its mission. And I'm just kind of going, seriously? I get buying in as a matter of survival. I get keeping your head down, and I get building up power to help the people that you can because you don't have the strength to fight head on. I get all that. Okay. However, that you went too far over the line and now you're believing the hype. It's just like that movie, The Great White Hype, when the white dude thought he had a chance against Damon Wayans. You know,
Man.
Spoiler for a 30-year-old movie.
Another classic.
You know,
You ain't my daddy,
well,
are you?
yeah. You know, so yeah, I mean, that's what I saw, and that was that emotional grip. Okay, that was that emotional grip, and that was this episode as a whole was not one of my favorites of the season. I'm gonna say that right now. It's not one of my favorites because it's a slow burn. You know, after I turned it off, all this stuff I'm talking about didn't hit me for hours. And I'm thinking about this and I'm like, okay, all right. But
that's what makes it such a good show, to have you resonate and think about it after the fact.
That part.
I would like to be on that thing, but I think about everything I take in after the fact. You know, I take in the information, then I freaking sort through it just to make sure there's something there that I have to learn. That's just my personality type. But most episodes of Doom Patrol, I'm feeling something, or I'm hyped, or I'm happy about what I saw, or I'm disgusted, you know, ideologically disgusted. On this one, I was like, okay, it's over. And then the tea got steeped. And now all this stuff is coming out. You see what I mean?
I guess. Like I said, when that mask came off, I was like, I'm in. Come on, let's go.
Same,
Yeah.
same.
When that mask dropped, I was just like, good on you. Good on you. I was, man, and then the whole thing about like, yo, all you had to do is open the door. They were literally like screaming at her. Well, one part screaming at us like, hey, sometimes all you got to do is just walk through the door. Now, I'm not going to get on. I know everybody have their own, but so, you know, God or the universe or whatever will do the rest. But sometimes all you got to do is open the door. Be open to the opportunity. Give it a genuine shot. But she was just like, it's too late.
Mm-hmm.
So then we got a whole bunch of face birds. And
ooh, that's the new social media site, Facebirds.
Oh, Facebirds. I really like it. It's like Facebook and Twitter put together. It's
exactly.
You can send
yet
hateful
another
messages.
way to get unsolicited pictures of people's genitals. Fantastic.
Fantastic. You know what? I'm gonna leave on that.
I don't know what group Solar's in. I don't know if I want to get down like that.
You know what? I'm gonna leave it on that. With that said, shouts out to ZSB Lou. Shouts out to Jenna James, Clever Little Vixen. Also a shout out from yesterday. Shot by Nolan, Tyler Bennett for rolling through. Later on we have NERDSoul Sports. We also have the young ladies for their 1 year anniversary will be moving. They'll be rescheduling. You know, internet, Verizon and stuff be tripping sometimes. But before we get out of here, down here in the bottom square, kicking it in front of a fireplace and cool books, Solar Greatest Cinematic Sorcery.
Hey, on some shows, I even bring out the pipe. But if you guys want to get a hold of me, you can email me at backinthedeck@gmail.com. And of course, you can find me on twitch.tv/BID_P Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific time. I did that for y'all people in New York. I know y'all home from work now. So yeah, there you go. On the dark side of the room, where we talk about how lessons you learn while being part of nerd culture, regardless of what you're doing, have practical applications to the life that you might want to live. You can find me. You can also find me at patreon.com/BID_P, where we fund the Back in the Deck creativity programs. Just hit me up with an email if you want to know about all that. And of course, if you guys want to see deeper archives, just look for BID_P or Solar Gray right here on YouTube. Haha.
All right, and next up in the Diagonal Square this time, RJ, what's up?
Hey, what's up with you? We're talking about Doom Patrol.
What y'all want to do?
but no, I'm RJ of The Nerdy Brew, and you can find me on my YouTube channel of The Nerdy Brew, where we talk TV, movies, and everything in between, all while drinking a cup of coffee. And if you want to talk, chat, hit me up. I'm also at Instagram at RJ Nerdy Brew 315. With the at, the at symbol, RJ Nerdy Brew 315, all one word. Nothing is going on except making videos in due time. Why don't you like, share, comment, and subscribe there for updates for whenever that happens, sooner rather than later, but it's a thing. So you can find me at the Nerdy Brew.
Cool. And last but not least, the incomparable Hannibal Taboo.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the chance to have this conversation. You can find my reviews every week at Bleeding Cool, also on the iHeartRadio podcast Nerdorama with Mo and Tuala. Project Wildfire will be in stores November 24th. So if you're watching Hawkeye, you can have something to read right after. I decided to share my day with him. And you can also find False Flag for free on operative.net with illustrations by DeMar Douglas every False Flag Friday throughout the fall. That's going to be a lot of stuff going on. And you can, if you're looking for me, you can find me using @HANNIBALTABU. That's on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Tumblr, the back of Cliff's daughter's credit card, and everywhere that you like.
It's like, oh, he has his own card. The
So if you
man
get the
has
number,
his
I
own
guess they say,
car.
what's the security code for this?
That's the
Hannibal,
security. There you go.
taboo.
There you go.
Like you gotta spell Hannibal in the number pad though. So it's like
Back when you was using the pager, yeah. Uh-huh.
Anyway, NERD, SOUL, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all those places. Hit the thumbs up if you like what you're seeing. Hit the thumbs down if you don't. But if you don't, a face bird is going to take a dump on your head. All right, and you don't want to do that because I mean, bird poop is not good, but like face bird poop is it's bigger. I don't know.
Poop that comes out of a face might be alive. It might have 10 eyes. You don't
Yep, might have eyes and stuff. You don't want
That's a callback. You see how we did that? That's a callback, y'all.
Yeah.
So
We tried to walk away from that joke, but then we turned around and gave it a scarf.
Hey, you know what made me mad about that scene? Is that Jane did not attempt to wipe it up. Like she had a long.
She just
sleeve
left that
shirt on.
joint up there.
She just left it on her face, and they just allowed for it to go. I was like, you don't want to attempt to get the poo off your face?
I'm
People don't need
guessing
to-
you have never just been done. Just, you know what?
Like,
I'm going
you
through
know
all this
what?
stuff in the
I don't
underground.
care.
I'm in somebody's brain, and now bird poop. Yeah, of course.
It's
bird
like,
poop,
man, you
whatever.
know what? Just forget it. I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Whatever.
You know.
It's all right. Whatever.
Dennis Leary talked about it when he talked about his daughter helping him wash the car, and she did it with a handful of rocks. And it's
Oh,
like, you
no.
know what? Fine. All right.
Wow.
You know what? You're
Uh.
helping. You're happy. Fine. You know what? Go help mommy wash her car too. That fine.
Mhm.
Whatever.
Mm.
Bird poop on my sure. Fine.
Ooh.
Fine.
So Spotify for music, podcast for that sound. But we're gonna leave y'all with PL Parker Lewis and Arcatron. We got some dope stuff coming. And enjoy the rest. If you have it, depending on where you at. If you're in the US, the rest of your Sunday. If you're in London, then I guess
It's
take
still
your butt to
Sunday.
bed. So from us to you, peace. We out.
Ha! I'm the man, yes, sir, that killed a bear barehanded so the people won't forget it. Ha! Getting money for I was legal to drink. I care what a broke nigga think.
Just like the Parker Lewis
Look,
shit.
everything I do so cold. I can do this, both eyes closed. Too short, I stay on my toes. About that guap boy, anything goes. Help the bear if we outside. Help the bear if we outside. Still tipping, baby, nothing changed. I'm still grinding over here, yeah. Still sliding through my own lane. Shorty, nothing funny over here. Dallas rain everywhere around me. Dream to get money. Made it through the storm, living sunny. Dreams came true, now we eating. I got more dreams to chase, gotta reach them. Trying to put a team together like the Hunger Games. Everybody grind together, we all get stronger.